Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.
Hello, you're listening to Over the Oxer podcast with Tracy Cole for all things to do with the mind for equestrians. On this episode, I'd like to do something a little bit more differently. I want to travel through time, and I want to travel through time and uncover the mindset secrets of some of history's greatest horsemen. And it's always been intriguing to me that in the films, which obviously aren't real life, but in the films, when you see a medieval knight, or you see cowboys, or you see a Victorian lady riding side saddle, nobody seems to have fears of riding. You don't see cowboys who don't want to get on their horse. You don't see medieval knights who would prefer to be off the horse. And so, if the film representations are true, I want to uncover what these people of the past were able to harness. So, from fearless warriors of the past to classical masters, obviously these riders still face challenges, and these challenges at times tested the courage and focus and resilience just like riders today. But they obviously didn't have sports psychologists or NLP or hypnotherapy. They didn't have any riding coaches in particular. But they still were able to develop mental strategies through discipline, sometimes through warfare, sometimes because of survival. And what I want to do today is to bring those lessons back to life. So my first one is to go right back into the past, to ancient warriors. I want to go back to Mongolia. Imagine now that you're a horseman or woman in the 13th century. You spent your entire life in the saddle, riding across the plains, covering hundreds of miles a day on your horse. And your horse is your lifeline. And you have to trust your horse completely, because in battle, even the slightest hesitation might mean death. So how did the Mongols of ancient times develop such unwavering confidence and fearlessness? Well, they were trained from childhood to ride, and from that point they believe in becoming one with the horse, almost as if they are merging minds with their horses. Now, they did practice some pretty extreme riding, so they would often switch horses mid-gallop. They sometimes rode backwards in order to be able to shoot arrows backwards. So they had the ultimate ability to stay calm in chaos. Can we build some very deep trust in our horses? Imagine if we rode with the same instinct and connection, where we just don't control the horse or lead the horse, but move in harmony with him or her. Another ancient warrior culture was the samurai. The samurai had a way of the horse and bow called yabusame. And the samurai followed the way of the warrior, or the bushido, which emphasized discipline, patience, and complete mental control. They practiced something called mushin, which is a state of no mind, where they eliminated fear, doubt, hesitation, so that they were able to react instinctively when they were in a battle. Today we'd call it being in the zone. And lots of riders experience this when they're schooling, when they're riding in a competition, when they're in other high-pressure moments. Their minds become clear. There's no thought. It's automation, it's instinct. Being able to get into the zone quickly is something that these warriors would develop alongside their physicality? Can we find our own personal ways then to be calm under pressure? If we think about some legendary equestrians, then we can fast forward a little bit to somebody like Joan of Arc. So Joan of Arc, as we know, was a teenage girl leading an army on horseback, and she defied all expectations and trusted herself even when the world doubted her. So she had a very deep and unshakable belief in her mission. She didn't let her fear or her fear of failure stop her. So how many times do we doubt ourselves in riding? And what if we were able to replace that doubt with an unwavering belief in something bigger? Now, recently, I've been on holiday and I visited Vienna. And whilst I was in Vienna, I visited the Spanish riding school and I was able to watch the morning exercises. And what was very apparent to me was that they didn't kind of overlook the warm-up. The warm-up was lengthy on a very long rein or set of reins because most of them were in double bridles. The warm-up was also individualized, so you didn't see any formation movements. Horses were going on different reins, they were performing different circles, or some of them were just going around the outside of the track. And it showed me very much how calm the place was. Because there could have been, I'm not sure, about 8 riders in the ring at once. And the school wasn't actually that big. And it showed me that they had total patience. And as we were told a little bit about the riders and a little bit about the horses, it became very apparent that it takes a long, long time before you are considered a rider at the Vienna school. And, you're getting people who are highly trained coming in as apprentices. And that taught me something, that there was no rushing. There was no rushing of the process. The people who were coming in as apprentices wore a different uniform and they had hard hats on, and they were coming mainly from dressage. So they knew quite a lot. They knew modern dressage rather than the specific classical dressage of the Spanish riding school. But they obviously were quite at home with waiting before they could be considered one of the more elite riders and wear the uniform of the elite riders. And having that patience and that trust in the process, being disciplined in yourself day in, day out, maybe that's something we can take on board. Maybe if we embrace that patience, knowing that to develop a real skill takes quite a lot of time. And now I want to shift slightly, shift quite a lot actually, because from going from discipline and precision, I want to go to something a little bit more raw and fearless. And it's one that I mentioned at the start. It's the mindset of the cowboys and the Western riders of more than 100 years ago. So the cowboy mentality is obviously one of grit, gut instinct, mental toughness, because cowboys had no formal training. They didn't go to lessons. It was all done on pure feel and adaptability. Their mindset was simply, don't overthink, get the job done. And sometimes as riders, we get stuck inside our heads. So maybe it's the cowboy persona you want to take on, where you just stop analysing and you ride. Now, we have obviously lost quite a lot of ancient techniques. You might remember And if you don't, have a little look back in the episodes. I'll put it down into the description box. The Hakalau that we did, which is based on ancient Hawaiian practice. But there are so many of these practices, and some of them we learn in NLP, some of them are outside of NLP. But, these things were very commonplace, and we've sort of lost them through history. So it turns out that a lot of these historical riders of ancient times, such as the warriors, were actually doing things that we place into modern sports psychology and NLP. So very often warriors visualize battles before going into combat, just like modern day elite riders visualize their performances. So maybe that's something else that we can take on board. Maybe you want to be the warrior in the saddle and visualize your ride next time so that your brain starts believing that it's truly possible. The samurai whispered phrases to themselves before the battle. I suppose we would call them mantras. The Mongols sang songs. The Vikings had war cries. All of these things to boost their confidence and energy. If you think about a true mantra, and whether you're using something from Buddhist tradition or simply words that really resonate with you, they're really meaningful to you, they do cause a physical shift as well as a mental one. So could you create your own riding mantra? And can you use it in such a way that it shifts your mindset instantly? Something else just to insert here is that the singing and the types of war songs that they used, or even when you think about the New Zealand Maoris and the Haka, that there's something in that, and there's something in even humming. A lot of these things are done at a frequency or vibration, if you like, that calms our vagus nerve. So it works with your parasympathetic system. So if you can think of something that you could hum, quite a deep resonating hum, that also can help you to calm yourself before you ride. Breath work and meditation were also practiced by samurai warriors and monks to stay calm under pressure. So choose a good breathwork practice for yourself, whether that's box breathing, ladder breathing, whatever you like to do, so that you can slow your heart rate and center yourself. So what if you could apply some of these old and ancient techniques to your own riding? Imagine stepping into the saddle as one of the samurai warriors, or a Mongol warrior, or Joan of Arc, or even a cowboy. And if you think about that person sitting on your horse right now, just imagine them there sitting on your horse, in your saddle, in your tack, in your arena, and just slowly walk up to them and feel yourself float up above them. So you're directly above them. You can see them below you. You can see your horse below you. Got a bird's eye view. And slowly, almost like you're being lifted and then released into a suit of armor, start to enter into their body. Feel your feet being pulled down and into the stirrups. And feel yourself there in that mentality. So my challenge for you is to pick a technique or pick a certain style of warrior from today's episode and then apply it to your next ride. And do share your experiences. Do share on social media and tag me. Do like, review and subscribe to the podcast so that I know that I'm on the right tracks and I can keep producing these episodes for you. I hope you've enjoyed that. Take care and I'll see you again really soon.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.